Interestingly, covering the Meganium right now, so thinking maybe an on-Sun team here, but having that Meganium who's going Mega, you just don't play Meganium without the Mega, so already vying for a Mega option and passing up the Star Raptor, possibly, covering over that Meganium. That's really interesting. Another King Gambit would certainly be an option, but another Sunsetter in Ninetales is available here, but I mean, really, why go for it? Why dedicate your entire team to Sun when you can have a Mega option and play the Sun on its own? And that doesn't necessarily mean that another Sun option can't be picked either. Or sorry, another Mega Evolution option can't be picked. Okay, this is the much more straightforward pick on this third one here. There are really just two options, both mainly supporter Pokemon. Incineroar has lost a little bit of its supporting ability in knockoff, but there really is only two options here in total. Having an Intimidate, because these Pokemon will be able to be edited after chosen. The only drafting rule here is that you can only pick 6 Pokemon from the 6 drafts that you get, and you build your team out of them. So it'll be Incineroar picked. Sableye was covered, which is nice to see that Sableye can be a Archetype support option also, but passing up Incineroar would be a little tricky. The King Gambit for the third time. Third time, not in a row, the third time out of 4, 75% King Gambit rate. Already picked one. So what we're looking at here is Golurk is a possibility for Mega Evolution, but the much more competitive Mega here is the Charizard. The only issue being that Mega Meganium has already been chosen, so bringing Mega Charizard might kind of feel like a waste as a Sunsetter if you're going to bring Mega Charizard Y. Now, Charizard can be played without Mega Stone. There are different ways to play Charizard. The Mega option is the most consistent, and this kind of makes it look like Meganium is going to be a little bit less relied on here. I believe these are Andrew's picks that we are looking at right now. Just see Heather on the stream here, so should have 2 picks left. 2 possible Mega options already chosen, so everything else should just be either pressure or support here. Now the Swampert will look pretty... that would be an aggressive pick if you go for triple Mega, but it's not unheard of. Aegislash, definitely the more reliable option. Something that has a few different modes. It's good for something like Draft here, because you can really customize it any way you want to. It can be a physical attacker, it can be a special attacker, it can be a split attacker. Gengar, with its Mega Stone, is very popular in MA, so it's a possibility, but with so many Megas already board for this team, for Andrew's team here, it's more likely that we're going to see an Aegislash. That goes for the permanent recruitment too, so it's plenty on keeping this one. Right, now another Superior here, Samurai as well. In fact, we have a lot of starter Pokemon. Hisuian starter there. This is a lot less certain about what you would want to pick. Gyarados is a solid option and always has been. Alphin is strangely just not as much of a pick in MB, or honestly just in Pokemon Champions in general. Elephant was once upon a time very popular, but Scarlet and Violet, but no longer. So I think checking how many Pokemon maybe they've gotten, or checking their team, I think is what it is. That was the safe pick, if anything. So now there are, oh, that's all 6 actually, because that Aegislash is on a permanent recruitment. So That is all 6. Double steel type, double fire type. Is a lot of investment in 2 types in particular, but they are strong Pokemon in general, so overall a pretty good draft. It does have the Fire, Water, Grass core, which is good, and there is a special and physical split between that core as well. Overall, a good split between physical and special. You might want to build, if you want to go 3 and 3, you might want to build that Aegislash with some special attack, but overall a pretty solid draft. I think Andrew's probably really comfortable right now with being able to build a team here. A lot of familiar Pokemon that you wouldn't really be afraid to build with, so. Now we'll just see how they're actually going to be built. Are both Pokemon going to get the Mega Stone like we thought? Most likely, yes. Looks like there's already a Meganium set and ready in Andrew's already in their box here, so don't have to go through that trouble. And the Aegislash on the permanent recruitment, it looks like we were right. That was not yet recruited, so be a new addition to the team, getting up to be customized. King Gambit, I imagine most everyone has a King Gambit. Same with Charizard, and the Charizard here being chosen, I'm not sure if it's going to be customized, but acting some Scorching Sand and Solar Beam. Might want to make a change to that when running the Meganium like you are, because your Solar Beam pressure and a lot of your Sun pressure is going to come from the Meganium, although playing these two side by side probably isn't going to happen often, so it'd be a benefit to keep Solar Beam on both Pokemon. It just seems like a lot of investment into a few particular types, because you already have difficulty with type ranging, 2 steel types and 2 fire types, 2 flying types. There's a lot of doubling up here, and that's bound to happen in drafts. So you have to be ready to customize your Pokemon to make up maybe the lack of typing spread that you have. And now the items here. This will be the interesting part to see really how these Pokemon are going to be built. Do you decide to go any phase? It's going to be Hyper Offense. Will you build your Incineroar a little bit defensively to make it last longer and function more as a support Pokemon? The Meganium with the Mega Stone was very obvious. You're not going to play Meganium without it. Whether the Charizard brings the Mega Stone or whether this Charizard is planned to be used in another sort of way, can't really function as a solar power Pokemon without the sun being set. Meganium doesn't set the sun, it only makes it seem as if it's active for itself, so a little bit less reliable to help out Charizard. The Charizard will likely get a Mega Stone in this situation. Okay, King Gambit with the leftovers is interesting because there are a few options for King Gambit to make it defensive, and usually letting it resist fighting type damage is a big option, but maybe having a little bit of lack of faith in, or maybe too much faith in the opponents, thinking that they'll know if they get to pick a Sneasler or any other fighting type, they'll know their ranges for knocking out King Gambit, especially if there is a Megastar out there on the field. It might just be useless to try to resist fighting at that point. So it looks like bringing these leftovers to try to be a resistor. We'll see if it gets built tanky or not. It is going to be the Mega Stone on the Charizard, so it's a double Mega Stone team, not uncommon. The synergy between them is where the questions are. Citrus Berry on Incineroar, very normal, and Life Orb on Gyarados, so Gyarados is going to be trying to take a big punch. It's not always the Pokemon that you see trying to get invested in as the big hitter, but on this team, it looks like it will be. So now we'll see how this Aegislash is going to get built. These moves are very much going to be changed around. There's already an Iron Head, already a King's Shield. Those are pretty reliable. But if that Iron Head gets kept, that means it will be a physical attacker. And if that's the case, I believe there's only going to be 2 special attackers on this team, and they're both Megas. So you won't be able to bring them at the same time. So you really, really have to hope that your physical pressure pays off. Things like that Gyarados are going to have to be big hitters. Poltergeist, the wide guard. A little bit of a mix between bringing some pressure but also being supportive. And opting for that Sacred Sword instead. This attack, even boosted at a 112 attack, it's not a huge stat. for Aegislash, but both their guys pack so much of a punch that it can be really effective. Fairy types aren't particularly known, particular ones at least, for being able to take physical hits. Iron Head from an Aegislash with the attack investment, you wouldn't love to see it. A lot of these, but definitely still reliable moves. The Sacred Sword maybe a little bit less so. We'll be using it into possibly some fighting type and dark type Pokemon that have a little bit of defense investment, so it could be a little trickier to break through with the Sacred Sword, but it is good to feed into what we were talking about earlier, which is, of course, the spread. Type variation, needing to spread out your abilities a little bit more so that you can cover more, because you have a lot of similar typings on your team, similar abilities as well. This Mega Charizard is going to be setting the sun, it's Mega Charizard Live, the Mega Meganium is going to be acting as a within sun. There is a lot of crossover here. It could be seen as an investment in your particular team type, but it could also be seen as a detriment to being able to cover multiple different types of teams. So see which one it is for Andrew later on. Waiting to see which Pokemon is going to be the next to be customized. I always think it's interesting to see who actually goes into the training mode part of the options menu and who just goes directly from the box. Personally, myself, I customize directly from my Pokemon box, but it looks like some people actually do go straight to training, take the extra step. See how much we're going to build into some extra coverage here. It's going to be probably the most necessary thing for Andrew's team here. This is going to be a really important one because that Gyarados having Life Orb means that this is planned to be one of the biggest hitters on the team, or at least live up to the expectations of every other Pokemon. It is the water part of the Grass Fire Water core. Very important that you pick carefully here. You want to invest into things that you know are going to hold up. There's no Mega Stone, so going for Dark type coverage moves isn't going to be as effective. Crunch isn't going to be as likely to end up here. Looking at some really interesting options here. Power Whip, which is strange because you already looks like have the Solar Beam on the Charizard, you already have the Meganium. It's strange to want to invest more into Grass. Of course, the only flying type stab option here really for Gyarados would be that Pounce. It's not unheard of, but it's also not common. The Ice Fang does make a lot of sense for coverage here, as being able to bring in Gyarados against Dragon types or Ground types, especially Ground types, that you can bring it in against and know that you'll be able to avoid something like an Earthquake. Being able to bring in Ice type pressure like that to follow up with it, it will be a little bit unexpected, but he's going to swap it out for the Power Whip, so going with some physical grass coverage on Gyarados instead. It would probably be a first. It looks like this may not hold up. This was an idea, maybe a joke, hopefully a joke. Looking at this moveset, it becomes clear that coverage on Gyarados is not at all unusual, to the point where there are a lot of different options to look at, because even seeing some of these ground type physical options, you realize that you may have seen it before. Bulldoze on Gyarados, not completely unheard of, especially if you think back to Sword and Shield, when Gyarados was pretty reliable Pokemon in general. You would run Bounce on that just have that max airstream. There was a lot of different stuff going on at that point, so being able to use a lot of these coverage moves actually did show up for Gyarados in previous generations. Haven't seen as much Gyarados in doubles so far in Pokemon Champions. And that Power Whip option is still getting hovered. It'd be a very strange coverage investment. This says a little bit maybe about a lack of belief in Meganium or in Charizard's Solar Beams. In fact, maybe you take Solar Beam off of Charizard if you're going to do this. One thing that this Gyarados is going to bring that's going to be really important no matter what the moveset is a second Intimidate. That Incineroar will definitely be running Intimidate. Gyarados sometimes does run Moxie competitively, but being able to have two Intimidators here, I mean, anybody else who runs double Intimidate here against Andrew will actually kind of have a leg up because of all the physical attackers on this team. There's only 2 special attackers and they're both Megas, so you're likely going to have 3 physical attackers from Andrew every single game out of his 4. So, kind of countering his own strategy here, saying I think other people might go for something similar, invest a little bit more into physical attackers. There's a lot more of them popular right now. Let's see if it plays out. Shout out to Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Well, Gyarados is set. It was the Protect instead of Power Whip. Makes a lot of sense, truthfully. Meganium is going to want to pack that Solar Beam, also packing a Synthesis too, so it's fully kitted and ready to play with its own Sun Boosted. I mean, you have to, but playing it with the Mega Stone. So yeah, the Power Whip up around Gyarados was an interesting thought, probably better that it wasn't the final decision. Meganium looks about set. This is a Pokemon that was already in the box. Of course, you pick from the 6 draftable Pokemon, the 6 Pokemon that you get from the farm, but if you already have one in your box, just use that. You built. The most important part is just that you're using only the 6 Pokemon that you choose from the ranch. Don't worry, yes, your dog, when you were 9 years old, that went off to the ranch, is there with the rest of the Pokemon.
I'm done training, so I'm going to sit you.
All right, so Andrew, is it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Andrew is here, and he's actually going to talk to us a little bit about the team that he drafted. Some of the things that we were looking at were the fact that you have a lot of sort of double coverage on things. You have 2 Steel types here, 2 Fire types, 2 Intimidators, 2 kind of Sunsetters. Meganium's making that sun happen for itself. So,
yeah.
What is the idea behind the team? How are you gonna be trying to run this?
Well, really, I'm just trying to do the best I can here. The funniest thing about the whole drafting process for anyone didn't see was that I rolled a King Gambit like 3 times.
Yeah.
So if I really wanted to be funny, I could attempt running 3 King Gambits, So my main thing was that mainly during the roles of mostly Aegis Slash and Gyarados, those roles were mostly terrible. Terrible, maybe aside from like normal Swampert, but yeah, I don't think I'm running like Mega Swampert or normal Swampert much. Plus, Gyarados does provide the Intimidate support and for physical offense and some coverage. Pitch. Incineroar, well, it's Incineroar. You just have to take it. The game's like the first I drafted, and when I saw it, I was like, okay, take it. Aegis Slash, I just said why not, because it was like the best option that I could really use at the time. Meganium and Charizard, similar situation to Aegis Slash, so I feel like I had to take Charizard because of how valuable it is in draft. You could argue to say Meganium, but Meganium was also like my first or second choice, so considering in the potential odds as a play, I just felt like I had to go to the Meganium. The one thing I was hoping to get out of this was getting Politoed because I plan on making a team eventually, and I happen to not have a Politoed, so I was just praying that I could get a Politoed when doing this draft. Just having an excuse to say, oh hey, I got Politoed in an event.
Would have been pretty lucky, but out of your 6, you unfortunately didn't end up getting a Politoed. One thing that I did want to ask about here is that your team has 4 physical attackers, which isn't completely unusual to see, but your only 2 special attackers are both Mega Pokemon, so you're likely only going to be able to bring 1 special attacker per game. Do you know how you're going to try to navigate around that?
Not particularly, but then again, there weren't a lot of amazing special attackers in my rotations. So the only real good Pokemon I could mostly get were physical attackers, mainly aside from Charizard or Meganium, which was best for best. And both of them are already pretty valuable individually, especially with Mega Meganium having its Mega Soul ability and Charizard having its Sun. What I'm really going to hope to do is hope I could use Charizard or Meganium for like the core offense, and then I can have other guys supporting it, whether it's Aegis Slash, King Gambit, or Gyarados for extra attackers, and of course having Incineroar. Because it's Incineroar.
Yeah.
You just had to take it.
Well, you did get some pretty strong options here, so we definitely look forward to seeing your games, and good luck in the tournament.
Thank you. Right, see you.
Right, so Andrew's draft is complete, his team is built, and we know what we're looking at. We've broken down pretty much all the doubling up that's happening here, but if you can commit fully into it, it could end up being a strong team. We'll see what happens. Has a lot of cores that you want to look for. Has Dark and Steel. Doesn't quite have Fairy or Dragon that you might want. Well, it does have a Fairy with Meganium, actually, so it does kind of just substitutes that Dragon for a Dark type or Ghost type, if you want to look at it that way. Core. We're all a pretty good team. The King Gambit with leftovers instead of a Fighting Resisting Berry is an interesting choice. We'll have to see. I should have. Last time I was here, maybe, but to scroll back up, because I'd like to see how defensive that King Gambit is built. Clearly, this Incineroar is built very defensively. It is going to be attacked. It's going to be difficult. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you to the guys in the other room. Yeah, no, that thing is trying to punch. I think it's definitely trying to punch. It's got a lot of HP investment, so it is going to be trying to stick around for a long time. Hopefully it will. Running slow as well. It's got that sucker punch on it, so it kind of has the afforded luxury of being run slow. This Meganium as well. The speed tier here are definitely split. You do have a fast attacker in Charizard. You've got a slower attacker in this Meganium. It's going to be completely special attack infested, and then very little speed with the HP. So this Meganium always, of course, since this Mega Evolution came out, it tries to pack the punch and stick around for a while. And you heard what Andrew said. He's going to use those other Pokemon to support it. Maybe Meganium will make a splash here. This is definitely the kind of tournament where you can see it happen, where everybody has to pick 6 from the ranch and figure it out from there. So, Meganium with its grass and fairy typing, definitely going to be a core element of the team. There will be a few things to watch out for, but the support of this team, the offense pressure, I mean, it really is a strong offensive team. We saw that the King Gambit, even with the leftovers, is built with all attack investment. So it's meant to be a very strong team. Even the quote-unquote support is going to be just physical pressure. support these special attackers. So we'll see how Andrew pivots all of his Pokemon around those special attackers. That's going to be the key to the team. That's going to be the real barrier of entry for being able to make it further in the competition, for to see how he can manage having so much physical pressure and going to work around those special attackers. All right. Up next, I'm not sure.
You got to see this team.
Draft. Is this a completed draft that we're looking at here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and I don't have your name up yet. So, what is your name?
Brian.
Brian. Okay. So, we've got Brian coming in now. Brian is going to talk us through a little bit about his team. So, it looks like what we've got here, we have Metagross, Electros, the Incineroar and Whimsicott. That's very standard. The Politoed is standard. You're running Mega Starmie. Did you just want to give George Mason University nightmares for the next couple of days, or do you have a plan here?
Didn't really have a plan. Just the first pick I had, well, the first branch had Incineroar, so I just grabbed the centerpiece for the team. I didn't really know where I was going to go with the draft. I mean, I was debating between Tyranitar or Incineroar, but I think Incineroar's just a safe pick. So, and then like the next draft was Whimsicott, and I was like, I'm just going to start trying to get a Fire and Water Grass board. That's, I don't know. Because you only get 6. Have to kind of take a Mega you think you're gonna hold with. I figured Metagross at the third pick was pretty solid because I could flex it and maybe just do like the Metal Code set. I necessarily have to Mega that. I guess Electros was the next pick. I've never used it before. Plus I needed like kind of like a special attacker. I sort of was trying to find a special. I'm not running the physical foil set. This is like the special one, so I just want a special option. I guess I just wanted like a water to round out the Fire Water Grass. Starmie plus Politoed's good, just like other weather matchups potentially in this meta. So
Yeah, definitely a strong support core here. It looks like it's the offense where we're going to be seeing some unusual things, something a little different. I mean, I think a few people have run into Mega Starmie and MA ladder, so maybe a few of us are familiar. The Metagross here, it looks like you're running the Iron Head, Bullet Punch, Hammer Arm. Okay, so opting obviously for the non-Mega set here. It's going to give you some flexibility. Are you happy with how that ended up, or did you want to be running Metagross Mega here?
no, I think I was, once I drafted, I think I was kind of, well, once I saw the Starmie come through, I think I was going to just go for the non-Mega Metagreens. Because I figured I kind of had like, I don't know if necessarily like Trust and Starmie cover each other's weaknesses or not, but I was kind of just like, I was kind of set on this set, I think.
Right? Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some unexpected stuff. You might be able to catch people off guard in some of this Electros set. You said you've never used it. I think a lot of people in the other room haven't used it either. So there's definitely a chance to be able to catch them off guard. This is, I mean, I'm pretty sure I built this Electros back in 2010 when I was playing through Black and White, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, Giga Drain. So this is all coverage here. You're devoting it to special attack.
My plan with this was to try to cheese with the fake Tears of Whimsicott. I'm running Protect because I figured it's faked out, so I could try to sneak like a Protect Tailwind, then fake Tears, blow up something.
And is it a full speed investment in your Electros as well? No, it's not. Okay. So just the 80. Yeah, I mean, it's not fast in general. So
only like base 85, I think. So,
yeah, it's
or maybe 80, I don't know which one it is, but it's relying on Tailwind mostly.
Yeah.
This one.
You should be able to break that speed tier. So I'm very excited to see the Electros. I think you have a solid support core and a really interesting offense that can really catch people off guard. So yeah, I'm excited to see it. I hope it works out for you and good luck in the tournament.
Thanks. I hope so.
Seven VP. Has anybody else broken that record? Chat, chime in if you've got more than 307,000 VP. That's pretty impressive. I think that Metagross was probably the smartest draft pick that we've seen so far. The flexibility on Metagross, being able to run it without the Mega Stone, but also having it as a Mega option if you don't get anything else from the ranch. probably the smartest thing that we've seen so far from this draft. So, got to give props to Brian on that one. It definitely worked out. Finding Metagross early is kind of a dream come true. You know you're going to have something strong no matter what you go for. And having the Psychic coverage from the Starmie as well means that it can invest more into that Steel type. You don't have to question what moves you want to bring. You can bring the Protect and invest into the Steel attacks, the Bullet Punch. It should be a strong option no matter what. It was a great draft. It's really good coming straight out of the ranch early on. It works out. Let's see, but it looks like now we might have our first match ready. Oh, would you look at that? All right, so we just got word what the first matches are. Pairings are actually going to be going up right now, and it did end up being Andrew and Brian in the first round. So the two teams that we covered will be going head-to-head against each other. We've already analyzed them all the way through. I think we know which one's Brian. We could be thrown for a loop here. This could be something different than what we're expecting, but I think we know which one's Brian here. Alright, so I think it'll be Andrew on the left there. He signed in first. Should be him on the blue side when he registers his Pokemon. It looks like Steel types are going to be kind of integral for both of these teams. That Metagross is going to be a really, really strong option all the time. And of course, it is double Steel type on Andrew's side as well. So we're going to see a lot of that in a lot of ways that need to be played around it. I don't remember seeing lots of ground type coverage in general. So Charizard is going to be looking pretty good as an option here to take care of that Metagross. Kind of handle most of the team in general. It just probably wouldn't feel great to bring Meganium. So unfortunately, this is the situation that it feels like Andrew is in, where depending on the matchup, he will be really locked into bringing one Mega or the other, and more often than not, it's probably going to be Charizard. It feels like with the kind of unique picks that we see from the side of Brian, there's going to be a little bit more flexibility in how he decides to play it. It could depend a little bit more on his game plan rather than just one simply for the counter. But as you said before, it's not a huge plan coming into this one. He's going to have to figure that out still. So players picking their teams now. For a fan of Gen 5, it looks like we're going to be playing some Gen 5 battle music. Now the thing is, if this water core is what gets dedicated, bringing the Starmie and bringing the Politoed, Meganium will definitely end up doing good, but it's just the rest of the team that's a little bit tricky. When we're talking about your Mega, it's a little bit harder to say that, oh, well, it only needs to take care of one or two Pokemon on the other side. If you want to play the weather board, you might want to bring that Charizard. Let me start for Aegislash and Gyarados. From it looks like Andrew's side here, so going to be playing into that Whimsicott and Electros. We're going to be starting off very, very offensive here from the side of Brian. We'll see what this Whimsicott is able to set up here on the first turn. That might be the most important thing here. Gyarados has put out an Intimidate, but the first Intimidate of the game from this double Intimidate team isn't going to be causing much of an effect due to the fact that there are two special attackers on the other side. So this Electros is most likely going to be Mega Evolving right off the bat. No Mega yet for the side of Andrew. Has to be a lot more careful and to bring them out. Whereas Brian here feels very confident bringing out that Electros already. Gets that Mega going. Going to be a Protect from the Gyarados first and foremost, expecting an electric attack here. So Aegislash is going to have to call the right thing here. It's a Fake Tears into the Aegislash. Did not go into the Gyarados in the first place. And now there will be some resistance from the Berry here, but Flamethrower will do more than half. So you can't take another one of those as this Aegislash. The Aquaberry was a very good choice here for the Aegislash, already proving that it was better purposed using that type Berry here on the Aegislash instead of the Kingambit. It gets a little bit of damage onto the Electros, so at least you get some damage down on the Mega. If you're going to trade a little bit of damage like that at the beginning of the game, it is better to trade it against that Mega for one of your just typical offensive Pokemon. The Gyarados still not in a safe position. It hasn't lost any HP yet, but a good prediction from Brian on that Protect means that this Gyarados is wide open to take an attack. You can switch, but nothing on your team but that Meganium can really take a Thunderbolt too well. It's going to be the Incineroar instead, so you bring out another Intimidate, but once again, it's for nothing. This is just going to soak up some damage here. Switching isn't going to be very effective just yet. Now it's a King Shield on the Kingambit, calling a double up into that slot, and it is an Encore into the Gyarados slot, trying to get it to Protect again, and a Flamethrower to the Aegislash. So a great read here from Andrew. Keep himself alive a little bit longer. These two Intimidate Pokemon, although they haven't actually put their Intimidates to use, they stay at 100% each, and so they're still fully in this game, able to be switched in and out later on. The pivoting is working so far, but how long can you make it last? Your Aegislash has already used its King Shield. You know that it can't take another Flamethrower. You don't have a type Resist Berry anymore. No damage gets done for Brian's side, so it is a game of wait and switch and predict, and you never want to be on the defensive end of a predict, so Andrew right now needs to pick up the offense in some way. It's going to start with a Fake Out onto the Mega, no Protect from the Electros. Encore here into the Aegislash is going to mean there will be another King's Shield. This time it will fail. No capitalizing here from the Electros, so you may be able to use it again. You're on the Encore. You don't necessarily have to switch just yet. Your next King Shield will be successful, but it is very, very predictable. That slot is just known to be unusable at this point for any sort of offense. All of the damage will be coming out from Incineroar, if any. That's the slot that will likely be targeted by Brian here, unless he predicts a switch and wants to get something, maybe a Mega, or maybe expecting the Gyarados to come back out. Maybe a Protect instead, not wanting to take any of this pressure from Incineroar if it's coming out. And considering there's no switch, it will be. See what Incineroar go for is if Electros was the target here. Moonblast into the Incin. Going to do just over a quarter. And the Flare Blitz was into the Electros. So all of these predicts making this a very, very slow game so far. Just taking inches and trying to make that the difference maker. Trying to set themselves up for success later on. Whimsicott still at 100%. Correctly, likely holding that Focus Sash. So can take a hit here from this Incineroar. Whimsicott comes back, though. Want to preserve it to be able to bring out a Tailwind. Many turns have gone by so far. You want to be able to bring that Tailwind back up later. Now, the Drizzle comes out, which is going to mitigate any fire type damage from this Incineroar. It already showed that it wanted to Flare Blitz into the Electros slot. Once again, an Intimidate. Unusable. And what a prediction! A Thunderbolt into the Aegislash slot. Going to be extremely effective against Gyarados and take it out. So now, Andrew down one Pokemon. Elevate, gives a special attack boost. Electros is starting to look a lot more dangerous here. Takes that hit, gets burned. So many ways to drop this Electros' attack. I'll tell you what, if Brian had built this Electros with attack investment to try to surprise his opponents here, this would have been a great, great game for Andrew so far. That burn is going to be pretty minimal damage. You were already going to go down to another attack anyway. Even another Flare Blitz here in the rain would have done it. So I don't think that burn is too much of an issue for this Electros. You get one more move here under this Tailwind. There should be... The Tailwind enters at one more turn. There might be just one more turn. There's 4 of rain. So Gyarados is never going to get to capitalize on any of that with any water type damage with the Waterfall. I believe there's no more Tailwind on Brian's side anymore, so it doesn't necessarily have the speed advantage. Electros, as we know, not particularly fast when it doesn't have the Tailwind behind it. So this could be the opportunity now for Andrew to bring some pressure. The Electros is going to be preserved, even burned, even at low health. Now we get an effective Intimidate into 2 physical attackers, the most effective Intimidate of the game so far. A Muddy Water brings Incineroar down very, very low, but it won't go down just yet. Aegislash loses some accuracy. A little bit of healing here from Incineroar with the Berry. Will it be enough to survive another turn? Likely not. Poltergeist coming up from Aegislash here. And it will be on the Politoed, so it should be a lot more effective than if it were into that Incineroar slot, but still, that Politoed has some bulk. Or chop and chip away at the Incineroar, and that's all we get from probably the most important turn for Andrew to make a decision on so far. You're gonna have to combo a lot of those together. You're looking at a completely different set of Pokemon than you were in the first part of this game. Now you have to completely change up your strategy. Some switches have come out. Aegislash is not necessarily in a terrible position. It still has the opportunity to be quick. Important here is that the fake out advantage is currently on the side of Brian. This Incineroar will be able to stall the opposing Incineroar if he would like. It's an option though, because this Aegislash is low enough to be able to take it down. There will be a King's Shield coming out from the Aegislash, so if that slot was targeted, it will be all for naught. Muddy Water coming out first. We know that that'll take down Incineroar based off the damage that it did in the last round. So that'll be Incineroar dropping down to the final 2 Pokemon. We're finally going to figure out which Pokemon on the side of Andrew is going to be the Mega Choice, unless it's the King Gambit. And it will be the Meganium coming out, so into this Politoed in a decent position, into the Incineroar. It's a 50-50. Effectiveness on both sides. You have to decide who the biggest target is here. Right now, the biggest threat really is that Incineroar. You don't want to take an Ice Beam if you're a Meganium right now from Politoed, but the Incineroar pressures both of your remaining Pokemon. It can get really, really dangerous if you don't do something about that fast. So, of course, Flare Blitz under Rain not going to be doing a terrible amount, but Aegislash only has 20% remaining. It really just needs to be poked at this point. Mega Evolution will finally come out. This Meganium does not recognize Rain. It will be acting as if it's under Sun. It'll be a Protect from Politoed, so a prediction likely that the Solar Beam is going to be coming out into that slot, and the prediction... See, the light was absorbed. You're likely not going into the Incineroar. Yeah, it was the Politoed. That Protect is going to stop it. This Aegislash is going to go for an attack here. It's the Sacred Sword, and it only gets 40% on this Incineroar. And this is something we talked about earlier, that it works well enough for coverage, but it's just not going to be enough to be reliable for knocking out Pokemon. So Aegislash goes down to a Darkest Lariat here. 1 Pokemon remains on the side of Andrew, and it'll be this Mega Meganium at full HP. It does have Synthesis. It doesn't matter what the weather is, that Synthesis will act as if it isn't rain and give a very large amount of healing. The only question is, are the Pokemon remaining on Brian's side weak enough that you can continue to attack and Synthesis and attack and Synthesis? So it's Earth Power first. This Incineroar was identified as the biggest threat. It's now down. No attacks come out this turn. Meganium will keep its 100% HP. That is the first Pokemon down on Brian's side. There are 3 remaining. Electros is extremely hurt. It cannot go down to an Earth Power. It will not be affected thanks to its Elevate ability. But there are plenty of other ways to take it out. Whimsicott, of course, will be able to set a Tailwind here, but the Meganium never really relies on being the strongest thing on the field anyway. Encore is what comes out instead. Meganium's now stuck using only Solar Beam for the rest of the game. Not the rest of the game, but the rest of the game as we know it, because we know that this one will be ending soon. The Earth Power does come out, and it looks like a little bit of, yeah, that Encore really ended this one. Yeah, it wasn't the Solar Beam, it was the Earth Power that was going to be locked onto, and so probably an attempt to Solar Beam the Electros there. The Earth Power comes out instead. Fake Tears, just to guarantee that this one will be over here. Electros should have no trouble taking it out with Flamethrower. And that'll be the end of things, losing only one Pokemon. Brian takes round 1 here against Andrew. See what adjustments the players decide to make here, because aside of Brian, it doesn't seem like there was a whole lot that needed to be tweaked. The perfect amount of support and offense. Last round. Really relied heavily on that Electros and did all the damage needed. A lot of that early game, especially the Thunderbolt into Gyarados, things could have ended up a lot differently. That Thunderbolt had just not taken down Gyarados in one shot. It was a great prediction, or at least great coverage, knowing that going into that Aegislash, it would likely go down to a Thunderbolt. It was low HP. Gyarados ended up taking the brunt of it, unfortunately. This time around, will it be the Mega Meganium again? Knowing that there's a Flamethrower on the Electros, knowing about the Flare Blitz on the Incineroar and the willingness to bring Incineroar into this matchup. There's a lot that could really worry Meganium here. The ability to be locked in by an Encore, be outsped by a Tailwind. It looks nice to be able to take out that Water Core in one of those Megas in the Mega Starmie, but is it really worth it to not fight the Weather Battle? We'll find out. Anything was edited on Andrew's side, because on Brian's it was not. But the Electros Whimsicott to start for him will be the Incineroar and Aegislash this time around. So not the Gyarados for Andrew. It'll be Incineroar instead starting us off. Maybe wanting to target that Whimsicott early on this time. The Electros is still going to be a huge threat, but how much of a threat is it against the rest of your Pokemon if you're able to take down its biggest supporter, Whimsicott? And Brian calls it. Brian makes the switch, goes into the Incineroar, gets the double Intimidate here. That's really good. Every Intimidate is going to affect Andrew's team so much if the Megas are not on the field. It's a protect to start, so pretty confident here. Being able to bring out the Incineroar, fake out into the Electros, fake out goes wasted. Will it be another Sacred Sword? No, it's an Iron Head instead. So it was going to minimally target that Whimsicott, and opting for the fake out on what thought would be a Mega, but it is not Brian Mega Evolving, instead bringing out Incineroar to lower the attack. Both of Andrew's Pokemon, so already fighting an uphill battle here in Game 2. Lovecraft really has no choice at this point. The Protect was already used. If it's going to stay on the field, it has to Mega Evolve. The attack of both opposing Pokemon are lowered. No longer too scared about what's going to happen. It's a Thunderbolt for coverage again into that Incineroar. It's the best option. We know that Flamethrower and Ether Drain are the other two on that Pokemon. The Sacred Sword is a decent amount to Incineroar despite the attack drop. There's going to be a Citrus Berry that keeps Incineroar looking fairly healthy. And a Parting Shot straight away into the opposing Incineroar, into Andrew's Incineroar. Goes right back to Brian. And now you can switch out to whatever you think you can be comfortable with, because you've already seen what your opponent has gone for with their attacks for the most part. That Incineroar still does have to go, but Whimsicott comes out saying there's no way you're going to Flare Blitz into my Incineroar, and it was true. So Flare Blitz into the Electros. If you can get the burn early this time, it could be helpful for Chip, but there is no burn this time on the Electros, so Electros will take a quarter of its HP in damage and stick around, still being able to threaten the opposing side. Once again, Andrew has kept the HP trade fairly even so far, not completely even, but minimized it on both sides, and so we're looking at a situation where it's just a matter of time for one of these players to make the right move. It's going to be a King's Shield, still playing defensively on the side of Andrew. This Aegislash going to be protected for this turn, but it is a Moonblast into the Incineroar. Still at a decent amount of health left, above half. Citrus Berry will bring it back above half. Ooh, just barely under because of that 24%. And so a Thunderbolt here brings it down to 8%. That Citrus Berry kept it up. The Flare Blitz will knock it out here. But Whimsicott is going to stay up. So you're trading your Incineroar for most of the damage onto that Whimsicott. If you really want to mitigate the support, it has to go down next turn. Otherwise, your Incineroar just went down or no trade. The Whimsicott will still be able to get off this Tailwind. Maybe an Encore on the Aegislash if the Gyarados is the target here. Not one of the Intimidates from Andrew's side has landed on a physical attacking Pokemon so far. Whimsicott does go for the Encore on the Aegislash. The Protect on the Gyarados is a little bit of a wasted opportunity, maybe. The Electros does go for the Thunderbolt, but it was quite slow because it's not under Tailwind. Gyarados would have been able to move first. If that Whimsicott really was your priority, that was the move to be able to take it down. It was going for an Encore, not a Tailwind. Electros still would have been slower. You would have been able to handle it with the Pokemon in the back. It's not going to happen anymore, though. Aegislash has to get pulled out. Stuck using King's Shield. Now it's the Meganium. You reveal your Mega. Encore comes out again. Now another Pokemon stuck using Protect at this point. It's going to be successful. So this likely Thunderbolt coming out will not connect. Gyarados is protected for another turn. Andrew is able to keep it slow just for a little bit longer. Now there's a little bit of pressure here. You do have the ability to take down this Whimsicott. But that Electros is standing in front of a Meganium that it doesn't have a ton of pressure against. We know Flamethrower will do quite a bit of damage, but not enough to take it down. So Meganium will have an opportunity to respond if you don't put all of your resources into it now. Gyarados obviously does have to get smushed out. It's going to be Age Punch coming back now. No longer Encore. Nothing here can be Encore at the move. Meganium is not yet attacked. Here's in Meganium is a very good start for this Electros being able to target it down. Will with the Flamethrower, and Meganium will go down in one. That is a one-hit KO onto Mega Meganium from Mega Electros. That's going to raise the special attack. That is going to make this Electros even scarier now. Aegislash standing right in front of it. Gyarados as well. Both of these Pokemon can go down to one attack from this Mega Electros. All about which one to target. We know that they both have Protect, but we know that this Whimsicott has Encore and can get them stuck that way if this game goes on too long. This has to be a huge turn. Do you Protect at all at this point? Do you have to throw out an attack from both Pokemon just so you don't get Encored into protecting? There's no more switches from Andrew. But you cannot get stuck in an Encore. You may have to devote yourself to purely offense and hope that you make some good calls here. Whimsicott will be taken away for just a moment. Return. Incineroar comes out for a double Intimidate that will not be able to be reversed. Electros is going to protect itself. If you're going to get a hit off, it will be into the Incineroar, but it's not. It was Stone Edge into Electros that gets protected. Aegislash with the Iron Head was going to be into the Whimsicott. Instead, it's into Incineroar. Does very minimal damage. Brian has not yet lost a Pokemon. And on Andrew's side, 2 Pokemon that are physical attackers and have been intimidated. It'll be a very, very uphill battle. The one saving grace is that they do both have 100% HP. They are both somewhat fresh if you don't count their stat drops. Sacred Sword isn't strong enough to take down Incineroar, but the Waterfall is. So Incineroar will go down. Andrew will be able to take Pokemon KO out of this one. Electros gets the Thunderbolt into the Gyarados. If you're not protecting, you have to expect it's going to end up in. There's no King's Shield either. Andrew knew that he was going to end up losing a Pokemon here. Everything remaining now goes into this Aegislash. He uses Sacred Sword on the Electros. Just doesn't have the stab damage. It's not going to be doing enough to take it down. It's not doing enough to even take it down on the next turn. Whimsicott comes out here as well to support. Has the ability to go for Fake Tears. Has the ability to continue these Sacred Swords if they're not hurting nearly enough to be concerned about. Even has the opportunity to put some more speed on this Electros. But it'll be the Encore instead. Says, go ahead. Sacred Sword me again. I'm not too worried about it. Didn't hurt the first time. Not going to hurt the second. Thunderbolt hits Aegislash. Aegislash won't even get to Sacred Sword. Again, it goes down. And that'll be round 2. Going to Brian, who will win this match against Andrew. Very unique team here from Brian. Used that Mega Electros in both rounds. Very, very strong ability on that Pokemon. Something that a lot of people are not used to. A lot to deal with knowing that it can get a special attack boost at any time, but also has Levitate. So congratulations to Brian there on that victory against Andrew. Pretty dominant win overall, just a matter of drafting. Can't give the credit to Metagross this time. We talked about it a lot before the game, but definitely not where the credit's going to be going. Didn't get played in that first game. Hopefully we will see it in the next matchup that Brian has. All right, looks like round 2 is about to begin. We've got Joel versus Dylan. Once again, helping me out by one of these players having most of their tag here. So it looks like we have a very MA formatted team here on Dylan's side, and then something very, very different from Joel running Empoleon. I definitely want to dive more into this. Most of you are probably familiar with what Dylan is running right now on the red side, but Joel here on the blue side running the Helioptile, I think a Malamar, a Toxapex, a Mawile, likely a Mega Mawile here, Empoleon, and Talonflame. Some of these Pokemon have competitive uses like Empoleon, Talonflame, and Toxapex, but not very commonly seen, especially in doubles. I'm really interested to see what the idea is here for Joel. After all, this is round 2, so this team, I believe, has won a round. I take that back. This is actually bottom table right now. So both of these players are 0-1 so far. So the NA standard team, and very unusual team on the other side. Can start off with Charizard, most likely, I mean, undoubtedly, Mega Charizard here. Could be going up against Toxapex and Empoleon, so maybe expecting a lead like this. This is a really good counter going into this lead. This Charizard is going to have a hard time finding a target. Garchomp not so much, but it's really heavily pressured here. Not going to be able to do a ton of damage into Toxapex. Maybe respectable, but not huge. And afraid of something like an Ice Beam from Empoleon. The only other thing that I could think is that possibly there was an idea that Incineroar may come out here and you could get the competitive boost on the Empoleon right off of that. Here is the Mega Charizard Y. It's going to set up the Sun. So doing its best to mitigate water-type damage if it comes out from either of the 2 Pokemon on Joel's side here. Wide Guard comes out, so a Heat Wave won't do too much. An Earthquake, a Rock Slide, none of it will be doing very much, and it is Earthquake that will be protected by Wide Guard. So a really good start here from Joel. Weather Ball comes out. This will do some pretty solid damage onto Empoleon here. Really solid damage, bringing it down to 12 HP. The Citrus Berry will heal it up, but not nearly enough to survive another attack from either of these Pokemon have planned. Icy Wind gets a critical hit on the Charizard, which probably is going to help a little bit down the line. Slows both of these Pokemon down, and of course is quadruple effective against Garchomp. So extremely effective is what they call it now. There's a lot of damage, and the speed change could be really, really impactful here. Could be the difference between Garchomp not getting a second attack at this point. Water-type attacks are still off the table for the most part in terms of meaningful damage, so Charizard shouldn't be too scared in this position, but if you continue to drop speed like that, it could become a lot less useful than you'd expect it to be. Now Sinistcha comes out, going to heal this Charizard back up to full health with its ability Hospitality. Icy Wind would still do alright damage at this point, but Empoleon's going to protect instead. It's going to be Toxapex. All of the pressure on them, and it's Baneful Bunker instead, but not going to be seeing any attacks. The attack does fail, nothing will be getting poisoned here. A decent turn for a switch from the side of Dylan. Doesn't end up getting impacted too much. Now Toxapex and Empoleon both pressured to actually make a move here to put an attack out. Still 3 turns of sunlight left, so not going to be overcoming your inability to do decent water type damage at any point. Rage Powder does come up, maybe expecting that Joel can't take any more turns to use single target attacks. Weather Ball comes out into Empoleon, who is not protecting. The Charizard's still faster even after taking an Icy Wind, and it will cost Joel his Empoleon, the Pokemon that's been putting in the most pressure so far. Toxic goes out and the Sinistra starts to put a bit of a timer on it. Sinistra definitely a Pokemon that can handle Toxic better than most, survive a little bit longer than most could. But that's the reason you want to put such debilitating effect on it in the first place. Now, Heliolisk coming out. Still a little bit of pressure towards this Charizard. This time not pressure that can get mitigated by the sun. Charizard will be taken back, and it's going to get a Garchomp instead, maybe trying to eat up an electric attack here. But it's Rain Dance instead coming out from Heliolisk, so going to cancel out that sun. Charizard can be switched back in to set it up again, but for at least a turn here, won't be too useful. Could be a Life Dew as well that heals up that Garchomp nicely above 50%, but an Infestation. Going to put another timer on a Pokemon here. It's going to be the Garchomp, losing a little bit of time, turn by turn. Toxapec's going to continue to heal up. New Pokemon on the other side continue to take damage. This Garchomp going to be stuck here. Not going to be able to switch out. Charizard's going to come out. It's going to have to be the Sinistra instead. It'll reset that Toxic counter. Dylan definitely taking control of the state of the game overall, but Joel right now in a pretty good position. Depends on whether or not you can get a good predict on this turn. Will there be a switch in or not? Do you get to deal with the Pokemon in front of you, or do you need to be ready for Charizard? The most important Pokemon to take down here. There's going to be no switch, and it'll be a Rage Powder. Now from Sinistra here. Bulldoze from the Heliolisk. Another way to slow down the opposing side. Toxapec's not going to mind the speed drop at all, doesn't need it anyway. Now we see the same though from Garchomp and Sinistra. Dragon Claw going to bring Heliolisk down to its Focus Sash at 1%. Will be able to attack again next turn based on the speed tiers that we saw. Will be able to outspeed this Garchomp. Toxic goes into that slot expecting Charizard or perhaps another Pokemon to switch back in. Of course, that could be dangerous. If it had been Gardevoir with Synchronize, you may have Toxic yourself as well. Garchomp at this point, not healthy at all, cannot take much damage. Even that Bulldoze, mostly used for settling the speeds. Garchomp got to protect itself here, going to try to survive another turn of Infestation and make use of next turn instead. It's Quick Attack. Trying to bring down Garchomp and maybe themselves in the process thanks to Rough Skin. Machagacha will be enough to take down Heliolisk. Toxapex, we will see if there's any burn. You get the health back here. No burn on Toxapex. Gets to use Infestation. Both of these Pokemon now stuck on the field. Going to be taking a lot of damage over time. Garchomp doesn't necessarily need to be Toxic poisoned at this point. The Infestation will bring it down to 1 HP. And it'll survive the next turn, but it does have a speed drop on it. Not necessarily sitting in a good spot. Slow process right now. Mawile finally comes out. The likely one of the two Mega Evolution picks here on this team from Joel. To see what impact it could make, though, the biggest impact it could really have is to take out Garchomp and use its Fairy typing to put up good damage against it, but Garchomp is really the least of concerns right now for Joel. He'll go down to an Infestation at the end of his turn. He could double protect it. He'll be taken care of. Sinistra will leave the field and Dylan will swap in the Incineroar instead. Gonna get some Intimidate drops out here, but Hyper Cutter not going to allow it. Now we see the Mega Evolution into the Mega Mawile, and we'll see what kind of impact it'll be able to have here. This game is still in a bit of limbo. Rolled down to its final 2 Pokemon, but it feels like there is some semblance of control here from his side, despite being down by 2 Pokemon. The Dragon Claw into Toxapex protects itself. Dragon Claw was never going to be able to land on anything. And now a Poison, just to top it all off, make sure that Garchomp will most certainly go down on this turn. And it'll actually be the Poison that takes it down. It feels like the Infestation did most of the work, but the Poison's going to take it down. So, 1 Pokemon finally felled inside. Dylan brings that Charizard back out, sets up the Sun. No more Heliolisk means no more Rain Dance. Hex won't be too afraid of these Fire-type attacks, in particular under Sun. Hex is going to fail here. With Fake Out into the Mega Mawile. Taking Weather Ball here would not be good, but that's exactly what's going to happen. Charizard's going to go ahead and put a Weather Ball here on the Mega Mawile and knock it out. So it'll be 1 Mega taking out the other. Toxapex will be the last Pokemon here. When you have offensive pressure, Toxapex can be a great, annoying tool to use. When you don't have other forms of pressure, it can become a lot harder to make it effective and to make it survivable while still putting out all of the statuses you need. Still sitting fairly healthy after all of these turns, being out since the very beginning of the game. This harsh sunlight does mean that the water-type attacks on this defensive Pokemon are not going to be doing too much. You're not going to put too much special attack investment into Toxapex. Solar Beam does nearly half, somewhere around 40%. And a Parting Shot stat drops that will stay. They will be permanent. Not going to be able to shake those off. The Toxapex mine's too much. Toxapex is okay playing this game out for much, much longer. Already toxic. Good switch from Dylan there, not wanting to let Incineroar's final non-poison Pokemon eat up some poison, because then you're just switching back and forth between who takes a little bit of chip damage each turn. At least this way, you can bring it back in, and get another Parting Shot or a Fake Out, and it's not going to take damage that time. Maybe it will take a Toxic on its next switch in, but for now you're going to have to juggle Infestations if you're Joel, so there's a lot to consider for this Toxapex. It's starting to get a little bit too weighty and out of hand. Another Solar Beam. Going to do somewhere around 40%, so this Toxapex is going to be very low. It can't take another one of those. Likely see another Baneful Bunker after this. Sinistcha gets hit with an Infestation. You're going to take even more than just the toxic damage this time around. A lot of toxic damage starting to build up on that Charizard. Next turn, it's going to be very, very significant. You don't have many turns left where you can't switch out with that Charizard. This might be the time where Dylan needs to do it. Of course, on the other side of things, you know that Solar Beam is effective, the most effective tool that you have against this Toxapex. You can stay in for 1 turn here, Solar Beam into what's likely going to be a Baneful Bunker, then go for another one. That leftovers damage, leftovers healing doesn't heal enough. The Toxapex could have gone down, but instead it'll be a switch into the Incineroar. Gonna play for the long game. The option of a Fake Out here, likely calling that there will be a Baneful Bunker, and there is. In his shot with nothing to lose, may throw out a Machigotcha, and it will. That will be Sinistcha's last turn. We'll go down to the poison, and now it's Toxapex all alone. In the end game, only has 2 more Pokemon to deal with. The sun will not be reset. Charizard comes out now. So the sun will not be reset once the sunlight runs out after the next turn. There's a possibility for Toxapex to use some water-type attacks. The only problem is that Toxapex needs to survive his next turn. Gets a second Baneful Bunker in a row. Going to get the leftovers recovery needed to possibly survive a Solar Beam on this next turn. Incineroar has just poisoned itself now from the Baneful Bunker. That's the last turn that Solar Beam will be able to be activated immediately. All of a sudden, Toxapex has a chance. It seemed impossible for a while there, but there absolutely is a chance at this point. Depending on this Incineroar's attack investment, that may be the difference maker between this Toxapex being able to stall this out. So Weather Ball coming out, a normal type neutral 50 power Weather Ball. Don't do that much. Combo with this Darkest Lariat gets Toxapex down to 5%. The Infestation onto the Incineroar is going to provide a little bit more damage, but can you survive long enough to make it to the end of the turns that you need to? Charizard still isn't in a horrible position. The Toxic is not affecting it very heavily. Toxapex can protect through the next turn, but what then? You're going to need another 2 Baneful Bunkers in a row. Here's the first. One more poison is going to be going out. Everything's already got what they have. The effects will stay as they are. Recovery back up to 16 will not be nearly enough to survive another Darkest Lariat alone, no less the help of a Weather Ball, and a lot of recovery from the Citrus Berry, probably enough to let this Incineroar last an extra turn. We'll see if it comes down to that. It's Toxapex can get another Baneful Bunker. If it does not, then it looks like we will be in a situation where this Toxapex is going. Goal goes for the Baneful Bunker, and it fails. It does not get the second double. The Weather Ball will bring it down very, very low to 181%, and the Darkest Lariat will finish it off. So it was a grind of a game, but Dylan was able to take it for round 1. Joel did his best to stall out everything, but it just was not enough. It was a little bit too much time required, and Dylan will start the series 1-0. Looks like game 2 of our round 2 is going to be starting here, and we're jumping in round one, like already beginning. We've got Toxapex and Talonflame out to start this time around, so a bit of an adjustment here from Joel. However, that Garchomp and Charizard lead will still be the start for Dylan. Rock Slide potential here from Garchomp is definitely going to be scary for that Talonflame. But with the Gale Wings, it should be able to get a Tailwind off here. An immediate Mega Evolution for this Charizard, and why not get that sun set up? The Talonflame's fire type attacks are not going to be threatening anything at this point. Needs to use those Gale Wings while it has it. So Tailwind comes out, increase the speed for the rest of the team. It's not a concern that you're typically going to have with your Toxapex, but a Dragon Claw doesn't quite take down Talonflame. May have had Focus Sash anyways, but Water Ball will do the job. So, not going for the Rock Slide, fearing the Toxapex Wide Guard, making a smart decision, bring it down to 15%, finish with the Weather Ball. Going to leave this Toxapex here, which was the biggest issue in the last game. Charizard going to start the game with a Toxic Poison. It was the Garchomp last game that was the first to get Toxic, and maybe that will make all the difference, having the Charizard with the Toxic from the very beginning. Now it's Malamar that comes out, so very likely not going to be the Mawile, likely to be a Mega Malamar. There's the Mega that we talked about, Mega Malamar taking to the field. What kind of impact is it going to be able to have here? Start with a knockoff. Always been a huge key element to Pokemon. You can't remove that Mega Stone, so you can keep using that knockoff. Plenty of damage. Earthquake here, very safe to use next to a Charizard. Brings Malamar under half with a single attack, and Toxapex down to 20%. That is much more effective. It seems Garchomp was the answer the entire time. Now Malamar will go down to one of those Mega Charizard Wild Weather Balls. Mega Pokemon has been Talonflame as well, so you have no more Tailwind support possible. There will be 2 Pokemon remaining for Joel. We're going to find out who that final Pokemon on his team was. Is Heliolisk again maybe going to try to shut down the sun here? This Charizard can easily be switched back out. In fact, it would likely be preferable to switch Charizard out at this point. Reset Toxic counter. You're only at 35% remaining. Wait out this Tailwind so that your Charizard can be the fastest thing on the field again. Don't take Electric Effect damage from this Heliolisk. Don't let it reset the sun into range in front of you. Will be the Charizard. Pulled back here. Incineroar instead coming in. An Intimidate that's not necessarily needed, but Incineroar will provide everything it needs to. Painful Bunker here from the Toxapex, wanting to survive out this turn against the Garchomp. Goes for the Thunderbolt anyway, saying, if you don't switch, that could get me this game. If you do, well, that's all I had anyway. Now down with the Focus Sash, this Heliolisk. It's a Talonflame. Of course, did not have it. Heliolisk losing that last little bit of HP here. Does go down and leaves Toxapex once again all on its own. So it is Toxapex versus the world again. This time though, it is a 1v4, not a 1v3. And that will be it. Joel does not see the effort needed to be expended here. Only 20% remaining on that Toxic Hex. It was a good effort, especially in that game 1. But Dylan is going to take the round 2 game here. Dylan will move on to be 1-1. Goal will be 0-2 player coming up with this one. Alright, final matchup is about to begin. And it looks like we have another Mega Mawile here. Interestingly paired with Galarian Slowbro. I think everybody knows the potential already of the Hisuian Typhlosion, but when not paired with a Torkoal or a Sunsetter, you get a little bit odd. We'll have to see what the potential really is without it. So Aditya versus Alex here for our round 3 match. It's going to be a Superior and Hydreigon start. Possibly no Intimidator here, it looks like, for Aditya. So Aditya right now 1-1. Alex is 2-0. So Alex here playing for a perfect 3-0. What intimidates me that the Superior is going to have to rely on its teammates to try to get some boosts or its own Leaf Storms. Rotom immediately going to be switching, leading off with Galarian Slowbro, and will be the Mawile moving on instead. And it does have the Intimidate, so swapping into the Superior with the Intimidate, it's a boosted Leaf Storm. Now that'll be a second boost. Of course, the competitive ability here on the Superior means that it will gain special attack for every attempted stat drop. And one Dark Pulse, it's all it's going to take for Slowbro to go down here. So Galarian Slowbro knocked out. That'll be the first Pokemon KO'd here. A one-hit KO for Alex. Having that core of Tyranitar, Excadrill, and Cleaver really, really huge for Alex here, but clearly hasn't brought all 3 of them in a single game. It's more of an option than it is a baseline that has to be played. So Mawile here, swapped in, got the Intimidate off, has not Mega Evolved yet, and already down 70%. Superior is not going to be threatening it too much, but as it builds up these boosts, there's very low resistance it's going to be able to do or anything. Masquerade as well, not going to be taking too much damage from Leaf Storms, but I'd be very surprised what any Pokemon can do with a few special attack boosts. So now the question for Alex becomes, do you leave Superior in with its boosts or swap it out? And it looks like it will be kept in as the Mawile finally does Mega Evolve on its first full turn on the field. Masquerade for the U-turn. Super effective, almost 50% on Superior. Very big damage for a pivot. Now Rotom is back on the field. Superior is going to Leaf Storm into that slot. It's going to be super effective, and another knockout, another one-hit knockout for Alex, and another special attack boost. That is 2 Pokemon down quickly here in the first game. Tailwind as well, meaning that speed is going to be on Alex's side from this point on. A Play Rough will be extremely effective on Hydreigon, and that will also be a quick, huge knockout. But at this point, Hydreigon has done more than what you wanted it to. It got a knockout and the Tailwind set up for your triple special attack boosted Superior. Now we'll see if that Sand team option is available at all on Alex's side, or if none of it was opted for. Cleaver very loosely labeled as part of the Sand team, but it doesn't matter because that core tank himself, Tyranitar, are going to be coming out here. Scarada has two decent targets to work into here. We know that U-Turn won't get a knockout on the Superior. If teamed up with the Mawile, get a knockout, but you would have to forfeit using a Steel type attack or anything strong on this Tyranitar. Let it get a free turn instead, right after it's set up the Sand. All about prioritizing, and the Superior is priority number one for anybody. 3 special attack boosts. Very strong Leaf Storm attack. And stat damage included. Now Tyranitar will be Mega Evolving. There's no threat of the weather changing here, so no need to save that Mega Evolution. Set up another Sand Stream. Scarada protects. Trying to elongate this game by having Mawile survive the turn, but it's going to be a double protect instead. Going to just spend some time getting rid of a little bit of this Tailwind. It won't end the Tailwind, but we'll waste a little bit of that time. Now Ice Punch into Meowscarada. Meowscarada still yet to make its first physical attack, so its type has not been changed yet. Whether or not Ice Punch will be super effective will be dependent on whether it can find a way to go first. If not, this Tyranitar with the Tailwind and Mega Evolve will be faster. Will get the Ice Punch, and Meowscarada will still be Grass type by the time that it hits, so it will be special attack. Protean ability will not have kicked in yet. Really tough position here for Aditya. Final 2 Pokemon, no way to make a switch. U-Turn is usable but not preferable. You'd be weak to rock type damage. You would get close to not heal the Superior, although after its healing, close if you'd like to be. It's a Sucker Punch instead. All while doing the same, so double Sucker Punch into Superior, it does get the knockout. So that 3 times special attack boosted Superior has been knocked out. But the same can be said about this Meowscarada. That Ice Punch, super effective, taking it down. It is up to only the Mega for Aditya here. Excadrill does come out. Not only is it boosted in speed by the Tailwind, but likely by Sandstream as well. Mawile here is not going to want to take a ground type attack, considering Tyranitar is protecting. It feels like an Earthquake on its way. Sucker Punch will do more than 60%, but Earthquake comes out, does not hit Tyranitar. We'll get this Mawile for a knockout, and that will be Aditya's last Pokemon going down, so Alex will take the first round here in this game. Felt like for Alex, there was just a double layer for the team there. Having that Superior up front with the Tailwind support from the Hydreigon, but then also having the Sand duo in the back. It unexpectedly helped Superior to activate that Citrus Berry as well. The Sand chipping it down under Citrus Berry range so that it could heal up a bit. We'll have to see if any changes will be made. We didn't see the Basculegion or Cleavor last round, and likely for good reason. Basculegion could have a little bit better of an impact, but it does feel like Cleavor is going to be staying at home for this one. There are a few key weaknesses to Excadrill in particular, but also Tyranitar. Running into that Mawile for the Tyranitar, Dragonite being able to avoid Earthquakes. But when it comes down to it, that strong Sand duo, it still persists against this team. It has a lot of super effective damage to put out. Earthquake can be tricky to use in this matchup because it will be resisted by Masquerada, it will be avoided by both Rotom and by Dragonite. But that's of course why you have multiple moves on it in the first place, as long as it doesn't have any choice out of time. So it will be Cleaver coming out this time with the Hydreigon. Maybe not satisfied with the chip damage taken by Superior in the sand last time. It was very negligible, so likely not main factor. Masquerada and Mawile will be starting off as very strong offense for Aditya this time around. Hydreigon and Cleaver provide a similar sort of offense, but slower capacity. Hydreigon's Tailwind is going to be a little bit more crucial, or similarly crucial maybe this time around. Get that mid-speed tier Pokemon a lot quicker than the other side and make sure that it can be the threat that it's meant to be. As long as you can get that Tailwind up and avoid seeing one on the other side, which Dragonite not coming out here, it doesn't look like it's going to be nothing. Slowbro's not out either, no trigger potential. Mawile, of course, will get that Mega. It's already given the Intimidate, drop the attack of Cleavor. Done what it needed to with that. Stone Axe here into Masquerada. Still responsible damage, 50%. Puts the Stealth Rocks up. Flower Trick. Not enough to take down Cleavor here, but of course that natural critical hit. Tailwind comes out, so Cleavor already faster than the Masquerada. May now be faster than both on the other side, but it's a play rough from Mawile being out on the field at the beginning this time, knowing that Hydreigon can't both set up Tailwind and be allowed to take down a Pokemon. If it's going to be a support Pokemon, it has to pay for it. It does, so Aditya gets the first knockout this time. Tyranitar comes in to start picking it up, though. There will be no chip damage from the Cleavor as there was with the Superior last time. But having a triple boosted Superior would certainly still be preferable in those situations. It's just a matter of tight matchups. Not enough targets for that Superior, despite the fact that after some boosts, you can still put out very respectable damage, even with resisted. Again, weather goes unchallenged, so Tyranitar can use the Mega Evolution freely here. And it will. You have to expect that it's going to be the Excadrill in the back. There's very little reason not to bring Excadrill when you have Sand set up and you have such a powerful duo built into your team. Masquerade going to protect here, playing it safe. Mawile doing the same, so wasting a turn of Tailwind, wasting a turn of Sand, but both of these at the same time, they're going to be susceptible to both of those factors for the next few turns. Rock Slide will obviously connect with neither, neither does the Stone Axe, but they'll both be boosted in this Sandstorm, starting to get dangerous. Mawile is going to resist both possible attacks. With so many Pokemon left remaining, with an Excadrill possibly in the back, with an Earthquake to hand out to Mawile. Looking very, very dangerous. Sucker Punch into Cleavor does take it down, but no boosted Stone Axe there for Cleavor. Two Pokemon down, Alex down to his final two. Rock Slide does take down Masquerada. Could be a possible flinch on the Mawile here. A little bit of chip to it. But the Iron Head will come out, connect with Tyranitar, and bring it down to 10%. So Tyranitar in the sand with this Tailwind will get one more turn to attack if it doesn't see a Sucker Punch from this Mawile, if the Sucker Punch isn't enough to take it down first. But network issues are going to put a little bit of a pause for viewing of that one. So we got to get back in there fast. All right, we're back in. Excadrill has hit the field, standing next to that Tyranitar. Rotom goes for Protect first this turn. And it's the Mawile. Mawile protecting as well, so it's another double Protect turn to stall out the Tailwind and Sand. Excadrill's Rock Slide. Not going to be connecting with anything. Tyranitar does not Protect, goes for a knockoff instead. We'll see if that continues into the next turn. The Tailwind has finally ended, so speed tiers are back to normal. All Pokemon dependent at this point. Tyranitar starting out with a Protect. We know what that means. This Rotom's going to be able to avoid it, but Mawile will not. Earthquake would be a big deal. A Sucker Punch to Excadrill takes 65%. That's not enough to stop an Earthquake. This is going to hit Mawile. Let's find out if it has enough to take down from 83%. And it is. Mawile will go down, and Tyranitar's feeling a little bit safer now, not having to take those Iron Heads anymore. It still is not completely safe standing in for this Rotom. See, even the Thunderbolt is going to go into it at 10%, but does still have a chance. For one more attack remaining, and now the final two Pokemon for each team. Dragonite will be the last one to take the field. Any chance of a multi-scale here was just broken by rocks. Able to resist any rock type attacks that may come out here. Both of these Pokemon on Alex's side are very capable of dropping strong rock type attacks, so Dragonite isn't safe in any situation here. It might be up to Rotom to try to get one of these Pokemon knocked out. Considering Tyranitar just protected, this may be the time. It's Excadrill moving first in the sand. Gets the Rock Slide, but not the knockout onto the Dragonite. Only drops it down to 30%. Dragon Claw into Tyranitar will certainly be enough. Now, Excadrill all alone, facing down a Rotom with a potential Hydro Pump here. It will be the Hydro Pump, and it will not miss! So that connects with the Excadrill, and Aditya takes this to Game 3. Alex putting up a good fight, but having to fall back on that Sand Core a little bit too early. Taking too much chip early on, taking heavy damage from Mawile and his Tyranitar. It just was not solid enough to hold up. We've got ourselves a Game 3 here in the final round. And our Alex here is playing for a 3-0 record. Aditya trying to finish positive at a 2-1 if he wins this one. Now is the time where both players may be making changes. Nobody can be confident in what they've presented. Alex, even last game, made changes after a successful Game 1. You have to wonder if he's going to go back to that Superior. It doesn't have the most available options for its Leaf Storms. But if you can get that Mawile out again on turn 1 or turn 2 to give it an Intimidate, give it another special attack boost alongside a Leaf Storm, that's 2 special attack boosts after the first turn. At that point, it can be fairly effective against almost any Pokemon, barring maybe Dragonite. Some of these matches have not taken long for players to figure out what they want to start with. This is not one of those. This is the final game of this event for both of these players. Their record for today relies on this game. It just doesn't feel like there's any way the Sand Core does not get brought by Alex here. And it's a Dragon Cleaver to start again, the same as the beginning of Game 2. Mawile and Masquerada, so this is the same start that we saw in Game 2. Cleaver will start this game with an attack drop. facing down both Meowscarada and Mawile. Mawile, we know, last game, Mega evolved immediately and used Play Rough into the Hydreigon for a one-hit knockout. Mega Evolution right off the bat, just as we expected. Mawile ready to put out a big hit. Will it still be the Play Rough? Into the Hydreigon to protect from Meowscarada this time, not an immediate attack. Maybe trying to avoid those stones going up, but the close combat from Cleavor only going to take a quarter of Mawile's health after being intimidated. The Earth Power from Hydreigon now into the Mawile as well, and that will be a knockout targeting that special defense on the Mawile. Aditya's Mega Evolution has already gone down on turn 1. Meowscarada does not get to return any damage because it protected that turn, but it wasn't focused in the first place. 3 Pokemon remaining after turn 1 for Aditya now. Alex in a strong lead, getting the lead he didn't get in that game 2 that he was hoping for. Goes for a very less standard start. A great read on what to double into. Now Mega Mawile is gone. This Dragonite does come out. It is tough. It does have bulk, but it's facing down some really strong, super effective hits. Intimidate on the Cleavor will help, surely, but by how much? No multi-scale broken this time around, but it in fact multi-scale Dragonite, thanks to the fact that Cleavor had not gotten points up this time around. Dragonite starts with an extreme speed, goes in Hydreigon, only gets to 50%. It's Life Orb, so you have to think it's inner focus. You wouldn't want to break your own multi-scale. Close combat now into the Meowscarada, Grass Dark type. Takes a super effective hit, but it's able to survive, and that is surely thanks to the Intimidate at this point. You turn into Hydreigon will not be enough, despite being super effective. It'll bring Hydreigon down to 6. We saw it do just about half to Superior earlier, but not quite enough to be 50%. And the same goes for Hydreigon now. Not quite enough to get the knockout. So now Rotom will come in Meowscarada's place, take half of its HP already. Hydreigon does end up going down to that Light Orb, but you would have loved to get the knockout from Meowscarada. Not let your Rotom take so much damage. Now the Citrus Berry is all used up. It's at 75%. Superior does come out, so the special attack boost will be crucial for this game, but it's usually a Pokemon you want to use early on to build up as many special attack boosts as you can. That's not the case here. It's going to be starting from the middle of the game. Both players have already lost a Pokemon. HPs have started to drop. Rotom has used its Citrus Berry. Igor gets taken back, and Tyranitar is revealed as the final Pokemon. So Tyranitar with no Excadrill this time around. This is the first game that we're seeing from Alex. Rotom is going to go ahead and protect, expecting Leaf Storm into it. That will be a good read. Now Dragonite will get to move. See what it gets to do with all this green. It'll be just a Dragon Claw into the Superior. An important target maybe at this point, especially for Rotom to stay around. Citrus Berry will heal it back up past half. Even the sand can't get it back below, so an extreme speed is unlikely to be able to do enough for a knockout here on the Superior. Tyranitar, the only fully healthy Pokemon in the field right now. And now, for Aditya, it's back to being about prioritization. Do you want to protect your Dragonite or your Rotom? Because one of them is quite likely to take some damage this turn. It's going to be the Rotom getting switched out. It'll be Meowscarada coming back out of the field, maybe to eat up an expected Leaf Storm. Definitely 2 good Pokemon to have sitting in front of the Superior. This is where the tricky part comes with the Superior coming in the middle of the game. You can get your special attack boosts, but you don't have enough behind you to really make anything huge happen. So you finally get your first one by knocking out Meowscarada, but that just kept Rotom safe for an extra turn. Mega Tyranitar, of course, on the field now, facing down this Dragonite. Dragonite will get the low kick off. It's extremely effective, and it will knock out Tyranitar. So that is 2 Mega Evolutions that don't get to see practically any use besides their ability in this final game. It is all up to the rest of the Pokemon. This will not be a game of power, it will be a game of strategy. The Mega Evolutions went down early, they went down without an impact. Rotom comes back out, Kleavor comes back out. These are the final two Pokemon for both sides. HP totals close to even. Where does the speed advantage fall? What can extreme speed get at this point in the game? Protect on Rotom will keep it safe for a turn. If the Leaf Storm is directed that way, extreme speed into Superior will not be enough for a knockout. Hangs on with 7%. The Life Orb brings Dragonite under half. Kleavor gets a Stone Axe, super effective into Dragonite. It's not bulky enough to take it, and it will go down, leaving Rotom as the only Pokemon left on Aditya's side to face down Superior and Kleavor. Leaf Storm goes into the Protect, won't get anything this turn. Superior does not go down to the sand, will survive to the next turn on just 1%. Even if it doesn't get an attack off this turn, its existence could be all that's needed. A second Protect from Rotom now, trying to stall out the sand, and it will work. It will turn this into a 1v1. Superior will go down to the sand here without being able to get a Leaf Storm off onto Rotom. A 1v1 Kleavor versus Rotom, and Hydro Pump is a dangerous move to be using at this point in the game, but it is powerful. A high chance to miss compared to a lot of other attacks. It could pack the punch that's needed to close this one up and not let Kleavor take this one away. Kleavor gets to move first, uses the Stone Axe, only gets it down to 7%. Rotom will get a turn here. It's a Hydro Pump. It won't miss. It connects, and it gets Kleavor down to 21%. It does not get the knockout. Both of these Pokemon survive another turn. Sandstorm subsides. Rotom won't be ticked down any further. But Kleavor went first on that last turn. If nothing can change these speed tiers, then it will be Kleavor closing this one up. Alex, in the final turn, will secure a 3-0 in the final round. We'll end this tournament with a perfect record. Aditya dropping down to 1-2, but that doesn't nearly tell the story of his tournament. Such a great effort. An amazing Game 3, a great final round, and what a way to close up the tournament. Would you believe us if we said these players didn't even know that they'd be using these Pokemon when they came in here today? Congratulations to everybody for a fantastic tournament. Thank you to everybody for tuning in and watching. Great games all around. We'll try to get an interview here with Alex, with our 3-0 victor of that last game. All right, so we are here with Alex, the winner of that last really tense game against Aditya, finishing the tournament 3-0. Congratulations on that, Alex. And that last game was super, super intense.
How did you hold it together? What were the changes that you made that you think really mattered that got you the win in that last game?
I was not prepping enough for the Mega Mawile. Like, I was really under-indexing on that. So I don't think I had revealed Earth Power yet on my Hydreigon. So the plan was, game 1, I'm going to just close combat Earth Power the Mawile slot, and he's probably going to protect Meowscarada because he knows Cleaver can just kill it with a bug move. And that wound up working out, so that put me in a really good position. But then things got a little sketchy with the Dragonite, which was also doing a lot of damage with E-Speed. Luckily, I don't know how Superior tanked E-Speed plus, trying to remember the other move he used on it, but it had enough HP left to take down the Dragonite, and then he got the double protect in the sand, which was also scary, so Superior went down. Luckily, I hit all my Stone Axes that game.
Yes.
I missed one earlier today. That was rough. And Cleaver clutched out living the Hydro Pump. I guess in sand, yeah, with no bulk, he can live Hydro Pump. But
That's right. Yeah, that Hydro Pump was a huge risk. I think everybody was very tensing that last turn, knowing it was going to be Stone Axe versus Hydro Pump. It was a game of accuracies, and both ended up hitting when they needed to. Like you said, no misses. So it just really came down to game plan, and it was a really, really close match between you guys. Was that your first game 3 of today? Your only game 3 of today?
no, let me think. The round before this was an even more insane game 3, and it almost was just me getting O2'd. In game 2, it was a Sucker Punch mind game. I was down to just my Excadrill in Sucker Punch range and a King Gambit. And I protected like 6 times in a row, and then just randomly went for an Earthquake, and they went for a Kowtow and won. Or if I didn't get that, I would not have even made the finals, so that was hype.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, you ended this tournament 3-0, so I guess you come out of this one as like our star ranch randomizer selector. So what is team building like for you? How do you approach team building? Because this is such a team building heavy competition that we did today. How do you approach it?
I decided my strategy for this was just going to be like, pick 6 good Mons with a lot of stats, even if they don't work well together. But yeah, so my first draft was the only decent Mon in the first draft was Hydreigon, so I just took it. And then the second one, I got an Excadrill. I was like, oh, I can Earthquake next to Hydreigon, so I took him. And then I got like some iffy picks. I was like, there was nothing in my third pick, so I just like went with Cleaver. Figured people would take Charizards. And then in round 4, a T-Tar just happened to show up, and I was like, oh, I actually got like a legit team now with Hydreigon, T-Tar, and him. And then I was like, maybe I'll try and do like a Fire, Water, Grass core. Can't go wrong with that. So I got Basculegion, and then like no good fire types showed up, so I just picked Superior.
Well, it definitely did work out for you. The one last thing that I wanted to ask you about was bringing Superior later in that game 3. You brought it early in the first 2 games. Superior coming out early seems to be kind of necessary for it to build up those boosts from its contrary. I think I kept saying competitive, but it's contrary. Bringing out those boosts is the most important part of a Superior. So bringing it out late in the game like you did can kind of result in it not getting enough boosts. How do you balance bringing it, and what was the final decision? How did you know that you'd be able to make it work?
I figured he wouldn't lead the Rotom anymore after what I started leading games 1 and 2, so it would be kind of useless sitting there clicking Leaf Storm into Mawile and Meowscarada, and if he just clicks like U-turn, play rough, he probably kills it. So I was like, Rotom is not very specially bulky. Leaf Storm is still going to maybe even kill it at +0, so I figured it'd be safe to keep it in the back. I almost didn't take it, because I didn't take Excadrill the last game. I was torn between Superior or Excadrill, but I was like, he'll probably still bring Rotom in the back, and if at the back for him is Rotom and Dragonite, I really only have to worry about flying moves from Dragonite, which I don't think he had any, so I just got lucky there.
Yeah, I mean, it all worked out for you. The last question that came in through chat was why Cleaver didn't use Tailwind since it's his best move.
Oh, well, he didn't have Tailwind because Hydreigon already had Tailwind.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that question was about, honestly. Clearly, you knew what you were doing. You knew how you built your team. You did a great job. there's a little bit of luck involved with getting these draws in the ranch, but you don't get the 3-0 on luck. So congratulations, you played great, did a great job
Thank
today,
you.
and you came out with 3-0. So thanks for showing us how it's done.
Thank you.
All right, and that's it for that final interview. All the players today have done a great job. We saw some great games from everybody. So thank you to everybody for showing up and watching. Thank you to everybody for showing up and playing today. It was a really, really great tournament all around, and congratulations to all the players at the end of the day. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time here at GMU.